Hello and welcome to Breast Friends Cancer Support Network, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Michelle Beck. I'm a 9-year survivor, two-timer of breast cancer, and I am the patient programs assistant at Breast Friends of Oregon, in addition to hosting this amazing podcast. And when I have time, I write at a blog called I Never Liked Pink. Before I get started with my amazing guest today, I want to give a shout out to Sam Blunk from Martinville, Indiana, who is helping his aunt Shelly Martin with one of our hats that we send out. So Sam, thank you so much for thinking of us and finding breast friends and supporting your aunt on this process. And let's get started. We're in for such a treat today because this woman is a sister of my heart. She is the epitome of a strong woman, a CEO of an international company, Bryght, a badass cancer warrior, and just so fun. I've been anxiously awaiting the date when she could be on the show for months. The first time we met over Zoom, we laughed, we cried, we just connected. And my favorite part of the show is meeting amazing women like you. So I want to welcome Luba Sasowski to the show today. So Luba, thank you for being here today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me, and what an introduction. Thank you.
My favorite part of the show is highlighting badass warrior women who've taken their cancer journey and turned it into something amazing and to really help out the other people out there who are going through it. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself, non-cancer wise.
Oh my God. I'm an international business owner, entrepreneur. I have an amazing fiance. We have a child-free life, which I love. And that's really it.
I imagine when you are an international entrepreneur and see you're busy and
Yeah.
while I love my son to the ends of the earth and my bonus kids that I have, I get it. There are sometimes I'm like, oh, it'd be so much easier to not have to deal with those kiddos.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The staff are like my children. I look at it that way, right?
I get that. And so you started out early on in the beauty business. So you did hair removal, waxing, anal bleaching, which we're going to talk about today, people. So just so you know, anal bleaching is going to come up. And it's not a career that many would say, oh my gosh, this is what I want to get into, but you've turned it into a huge success. So how did you get started and work your way up to where you are now?
Yeah, so I like, even with all the, aesthetic stuff that you mentioned, I'm not an esthetician, so I've never actually performed any of the services.
You're a businesswoman.
Yeah, I came from a corporate background. I worked my way up from, like cashier level to a director of operations for a national company with over 600 stores. And yeah, I just kind of worked my way through that. Corporate didn't work out for me. I was very young. I was the youngest in the office. I was a female, and I was
with strong opinions.
Very strong opinions. And I was constantly pulled into the office all the time. Anytime I did something, it was like, this is too outside of the box. This is too out. Just, you know what? Just calm down. Let the competitor do it first. And if it works, then do it. And I was like,
why?
This is cosmetics. Like, if you're second to market, you're dead in the water. Like, it's done. So it just wasn't a good fit. I've been going to the spa and getting waxed since I was 17, 18 years old. And what I found was there was nothing really available that was for waxing specifically. I when I was a kid, too much information, I used to shave the lower back end of my back. And now I have this little rabbit's tail back there. So when I would go in for my bikini waxes, I would say to the esthetician, do you mind just like cleaning this up in the back here? Never an issue. But then when I went to pay, I was looked at by the receptionist like, oh, that's kind of weird. We don't have that on the menu. And I thought, people grow hair in all different areas, and why should we be shamed for it? So that's where the idea came of this, like, no holds bar. We're just going to put everything out there. We're going to wax every nook and cranny. We're going to specialize in men as well, because there's no place for men to go. And that's where the idea came from.
That's awesome. And but like you say, it's we shouldn't be shamed because of the things we want to do with our bodies, no matter what it is. Like
Yes,
it's like what you do you,
exactly.
and you as a cashier or a company or business have no right to tell me that I can't do these things that I want
No.
to do. And so I'm sure with that attitude and you're like, okay, I can make this better.
Yeah.
And then you founded Bryght. And I mean, obviously you made your way up there and you've got these amazing products that are um, cruelty free, vegan friendly, just a really super healthy product for us. And one thing I love about your company is that you are really women owned, but you really support women in business.
Yeah.
Do you actually have any men that work for you?
No. No. And that was a huge mission of mine because I was
Mm-hmm,
treated so poorly in corporate. And
mm-hmm,
anyone that I worked with, they were men. Like they were like the
mm-hmm.
VPs, the
Yep.
presidents, the direct, like everyone that I dealt with, and in the beauty industry, they
Which
were all
caters
men.
90% to women.
Yeah.
That you really need to have women who are driving the industry,
Yeah.
because if they're not hearing our voices, then make your own voice. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you did. So I
And
love that.
I never felt supported. I never, I never felt encouraged. I didn't feel like I could grow. And I remember thinking, like, walking away from there and being like, my goal is to create a fun, safe work environment for women and to support women. That was it.
You've obviously done that. So listeners, if you have not, check out brightenup.com because her visuals are amazing. They're just super fun. And so it's really cool. But let's talk about why we met. And can you
Mm,
tell me about your cancer story? I know you had just turned 40. Life was good. You've got this business, traveling international with,
mm,
in the States and back to Canada because you are from Canada, my Canada
mhm.
friend. And then life is good. And then bam, cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell?
I had a wicked 40th birthday party in a penthouse in Vegas, and it was all catered and this like cake that looked like it should have been at a wedding. It was amazing. Like the year started out with such a bang. I had lost my mother the year prior to that. So I was
Mhm.
really, really kind of dealing with the depression of that because I was her caregiver for God, 7 years, and she had
Mm,
dementia.
that's very hard.
Traveled with me back and forth to Vegas every 2 weeks.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so then I was dealing with that. I was like, okay, listen, I'm just gonna have this huge birthday party. This is, the whole beginning of the year. This is my year. This is it. This is gonna be my year.
Right. And
Everything
mind
is
you,
going.
listeners, this happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind as Luba
Yeah.
is telling her story.
Yeah. So we had already worked on Bryght. We were testing some product. It was gonna start shipping. And I was in Vegas and the shutdown happened. So first my store in Vegas gets shut down first, and then the Vancouver one got shut down. And my fiance called and he's like, "You need to get home." And I was like, "This is nothing. This is going to blow over." Like someone with 2 million followers on social media, some Instagram model got some information, posted it, and it went viral, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it'll
And
peak and then we can all go back to normal.
yeah, so I was like, okay, great. This is like my opportunity to start doing all my commercials for Bryght. So I called my videographer and I'm like, okay, let's get to work. Like I don't got a store down here right now. So we shot a whole bunch of content, which was great. And then my fiance kept calling. He's like, you need to get back. You need to get back. And I was fighting him and I was fighting him, fighting him. So I finally came back and I definitely felt like J-Lo because no one was on the plane. So I was like flying private.
I got my plane.
The airport, like there was
Mhm.
no one at secure, like nothing. I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a celebrity, but everything was closed.
I mean, thank God you were able to get home.
Well, so this is like a huge part of the story for me. Because if I never would have come home, I would have died. Like 1000%. I know that in my heart I would have died. I'm not supposed to cry this early into it. So then I get back here and my business now shuts down here. So I kind of like now I'm feeling depressed, right? Like
Yeah.
everything's coming back about my mom passing away and now my livelihood's been taken away.
Mhm.
And then I wake up one morning and I sit up and I was like, ow. And my fiance's, standing right there and he was like, what? And I said, oh, just like, it hurts right here. And it felt like a pulled muscle, like I had been working out and a
Mhm.
pulled muscle down my side, my right side. And I felt around and I felt this bump right here. So I was like, oh, this is weird. And he comes over and he pokes at it and he's like, oh, it's like a swollen gland or something. And I was like, yeah, totally weird. Called my GP. Now, major shout out to my GP here because I've had him for like 20 years. I have him on text.
I love that.
Most people don't get to say that or do that, but I've got a
No.
great like personal relationship with him as well. So I texted him. I was like, hey doc, like how do things work right now? Like the world is shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me and he said, what's going on? And I was like, oh, it's like weird. Like I woke up with this like bump and it's like, it hurts and it's starting to kind of like radiate down my arm. And he's like, oh, it hurts. And I was like, yeah, I'm in massive pain. And he's like, okay, well, it's good news that it hurts.
Right,
It
because
won't be cancer.
The rumor is that cancer doesn't hurt.
Yes.
But I'm guessing it was pressing on a nerve or something like that.
Yeah. So he made me do a self-exam on the phone with him and I explained everything. And he said, listen, I'm going to open up the clinic for you. He goes, it's probably like an infected gland. He goes, did you start your period? And I was like, yes, I just started it yesterday. He's like, yeah, it's probably that. You're too young.
Oh God, I hate those words.
So I was like, okay. So he put me on antibiotics that day. I started them that day and he's like, I want you to be on them and then 3 days, I want you to come into the clinic and I want to manually examine you. Okay. So that day I headed into the store. My $40,000 order arrived of Bryght. So my shows have just been canceled. My businesses are closed.
Mm-hmm.
And my director was with me and I was like, hey, Becca, like, I'm going to have to get you to do most of the lifting. Cause like, I've got this bump here and it just like, it hurts. And like, I can't really do much. And she's like, oh, okay. Counted all the inventory. And it sat and I thought, oh my God, how am I going to sell all this? Like I've got this huge bill to pay. What's going to go on? Saw the doctor 3 days later and same thing. He's like, oh yeah, it's probably nothing, but let's be safe and let's book you in for a mammo, an ultra. And then if they need to do a biopsy, they'll do a biopsy. I was like, okay. Like I was in 24 hours.
That's amazing.
And it's because everything had been canceled.
Mm-hmm. So they had lots of open spots.
Right. So they went and they did my the mammo and the ultra. And I remember being in the ultrasound and seeing like a big black hole. And I just knew, like I knew right there. And I started crying and the doctor had left and the tech says, now we pray. And I remember, oh, this is it.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was leaving the hospital and then they called me like literally as I was walking out the doors and they said, you need to come back in 2 hours for a biopsy. So that's how quick, like back to back, everything went. So then.
And you really can't process anything. Your head has exploded. There's literally no blood left in your body because it's all ran out. And yeah, you're barely walking. I'm functioning, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I do the biopsy. My GP calls me the next day and he said, how did everything go? And they had me set up for an appointment. So this is like on a Thursday, Friday. And they said, you need to come in on Monday and we'll go through the results with you. So we're not going to know anything until Monday. So come back in on this day and you'll meet with one of the doctors here. And so the doctor called me and he said, how did everything go? And I told him about what the tech said, which he was furious about because they're not supposed to say
they're not
anything.
supposed to say anything. And I know she was just trying to help and give you, some peace that she's praying for you, but they're really not supposed to do that.
No. So I just said to him, I said, because he goes, what are the next steps? What did they say? And I said, I have to come back on Monday and meet with a doctor and go through whatever the results are going to be. And I said, I can't do that. I said, I'm not going to hear. I go, I know it's cancer. And I'm not going to hear it from a stranger. And I know that you're going to get the results before them and you need to call me. And it was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I was hanging up pictures and I got a call from him and he said, it's cancer. So that's how I found it. And I'm so grateful that I was in Canada. I'm so grateful that I had like the most incredible doctor that took it so seriously because my cancer grew from, it was 2 centimeters to 7 in less than a week.
Oh, like crap. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
So apparently even your cancer kicks ass.
You're right. And then when like I got diagnosed and it's triple negative, I didn't know there were different types of breast cancer. Like I thought breast cancer was just breast cancer.
Why
I didn't
would
know.
you? Mm-hmm.
So, when my oncologist sat me down, so this is when I met with, and she's such an amazing human too. I sat down with her and she's like, because I said to her, I was like, okay, so great, I have cancer. I'm going to start chemo. So when am I going to be able to travel? And she
because my business is travel. I go back, I check out my salons. I have all this product to market, and in hopes that, the shows are going to open back up and the world is going to open so you can sell and just, get treatment and move on.
Yeah. And she just looked at me and she goes, you are going to learn patience through all of this. And she goes, you are not traveling at all. She's like, I don't think you know how serious this is. And she's like, you have the most aggressive breast cancer that there is. And that kind of hit me like, oh my God. And then of course, like all my friends joke, like, of course you get the most aggressive.
Right.
Because I've got like the most aggressive personality apparently. So they're like, of course you wouldn't be any other kind. But I said to her, I'm like, Dr. Gelman, I'm not a patient person. And she goes, oh, I know that. That's why you're successful, but you're going to learn patience.
Mm-hmm.
So I am so grateful.
Oh, definitely.
That I was here, that I had the most incredible doctors. I'm so grateful that it happened in the pandemic.
Because you actually had the time to get treatment. Because could you imagine if you were trying to, still run your business, sell your product, and going through chemo? It just doesn't work.
No.
I know some people are able to do it, but not with the high pressure job that you have. And so thankfully, you were able to do that. I know that your fiance was able to FaceTime with you during your appointments and treatments.
He came to every single appointment. They let him come
nice. Oh, that's
everything.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that I didn't have to tell the world. That was my other thing, was I thought I was going to die and I didn't want to tell anyone.
Completely understand that. We'll dig more into that when we get back from our break. So listeners, remember, you can donate to Breast Friends on our website or by texting BF Radio to 41444 to help Breast Friends ensure its mission that women do not go through cancer alone. Stay with us. We'll be back in a minute.
All right, we're clear.
Oh, you're such a doll. I love you.
Too long?
Well, thank you.
Was that okay?
Aaron, I always love you. You know that. No, you're not too long. You're awesome. Oh, God. It flows. And if we don't get to all the questions, we don't get to them. And, it's there's sometimes I could talk for like 4 hours.
I know. Right.
Yes. But we have other things to do outside of cancer talk all day.
That's true. Speaking of, when was the last time you were on the Peloton?
I actually got on Monday.
Good for you.
Because of my back. It's been taking so long to heal from the injury that I have. I've only been on twice, but Monday I did it. A friend of mine passed, Pamela George.
I saw too.
And 25. God. And I literally was feeling lazy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I have this ability. I need to get back on and start taking care of myself again.
Isn't that amazing how your mind goes to that? Like
it felt so good. And so I'm after this, I'm going out to do all of my holiday shopping because we leave on vacation and I've got to get it done. But tonight I'm getting on the bike.
I got to do mine too. Thanks for reminding me.
Christmas is coming, Aaron.
December 24th at 9 p.m. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Thank you.
You are tuned in to Breast Friends Cancer Support Network. To reach the program today, please call us at 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Michelle Beck at breastfriends.org. Now, back to the show.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Michelle Beck, and my guest today is Luba Sasowski, CEO and founder of Bryght. And she's just a badass cancer warrior, and I adore her. So we are talking about how she took her cancer story and really incorporated it into her life and made a silver lining out of it for all of you listeners out there and people around the world. So, Luba, we were talking about treatment, how, you were going through treatment during a pandemic, and thankfully your fiance was able to go to your appointments, and you've obviously made it through. But something that during treatment, chemo was giving you rashes, and it was causing a lot of skin problems. And how did that make your entrepreneur brain move?
I think cancer just did that to me more even before like the whole skin condition came up. I was just like, I was given this disease for a reason. Something's got to give here. Like, how do I turn this into a positive situation and help others? So that was already going through my mind with the diagnosis. And then the skin conditions came in. So the thinning of the skin, the cystic acne, the dryness, the rashes, everything. And there was nothing on the market. My regular skincare that I've been using my entire life no longer worked. Mm-hmm. The natural organic skincare had scents in it like crazy. Like you think when you get like a strawberry rhubarb natural product, it smells like strawberries. And I quickly learned that that's an additive that they actually put in. So, all those natural products weren't so natural, and I couldn't stand the smell of anything.
Oh, I can't do smells at all anymore.
And then add chemo into that. Yeah. Like you definitely can't smell anything. Like everything makes you feel nauseous. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work for me. And of course, like I wasn't really thinking like skincare, like me making a cancer skincare at the beginning, because, how does anal bleaching turn into cancer compassionate products? But it wasn't until I met.
Not like you had colon cancer and had things going on down there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I remember meeting with my radiation oncologist months before I was going to start radiation about what the situation was going to look like and what the treatment was going to look like. And he started with, you are very pale, and you are going to burn, you are going to peel, you are going to have severe pain. It's going to be the worst sunburn of your life, and you're going to hyperpigment.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So as soon as he said hyperpigmentation, my brain went ding, ding, ding.
You're like, I
already have a product for that. And then I said, okay, well, what do I use? And he said petroleum jelly. And then I was like, well, that's just going to keep all the heat in. Like, and it's just more chemicals. So that I literally got home and I called my chemist at my lab and I was like, okay, we need to make a cream. First I went home and I Googled like, what do I use? And there was nothing. There was nothing that I could find. I found one product geared towards radiation. I ordered it. The bottle was so big that I couldn't keep it in my gimped hands from the chemo because my hands had completely crippled like this. I couldn't open them. So I couldn't hold it in my hand. The cap was too big. I couldn't apply it myself. It just didn't work for someone undergoing treatment. Like those things were not thought of. It was consistently slipping out of my hand. I didn't like the formula. I didn't like the scent, any of it. So I called my my chemist and I was like, okay, this is what we need to make and this is what it needs to do.
That's awesome. You had posted a video, I think it was yesterday on social, of in the lab and you talking about how you were the test subject.
Yeah, I was.
So how quickly were they able to get something in development? Were you able to actually use it for yourself going through this?
Yeah. So the first batch, so I went through 3 different products, I guess you can say. Like we just kind of tweaked the recipe with me. I got it. I mean, he had it whipped up in like 30 days. So I was able to start testing it on myself 2 months before radiation. Oh, 2 months or a month. I think maybe a month before I started radiation. So I applied every day before I even started radiation to prep the area. And that's just with my experience on knowing that like the skin needs to be prepared. Then when I went into radiation, I used it 3 times a day. So the morning, immediately after radiation, and then the evening. And I remember I was taking these like little sample tubes and like, there's no shame in the game anymore. Like everyone has seen everything, right? So I would like jump off the radiation bed and be like, rub it all around. And the techs were like, "Oh, what are you using?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just a cream that I made." And I remember like just feeling that they were like, "Oh, that's cute. Like you
Like,
whipped this
oh,
up
you
in your
whipped it up in the kitchen.
kitchen."
Exactly.
Yeah.
With your little mortar and pestle, you're like making the cream.
Totally. And it wasn't until I started, because my radiation was very, very aggressive, and it was every day for 24 days straight. And they kept like coming over and they're like, we're lifting my breast, and they're like, "Why are you not blistering? And why are like, this should be a lot worse." And one of the guys that works there, he's been there for 30 years. And he said, "I have never seen someone's skin remain in such incredible condition. What are you using?"
Oh, my
And
little
I was like,
sample.
"Oh, it's my cream." And then they got like interested and like, "Well, like, where did you get this? How did you make it?" So then they became very interested when they found out it wasn't in my kitchen. And right to the end, it was like they were amazed. When I went and I saw my oncologist, once everything was done, she walked in, she started to feel around, and she goes, "What is happening?" She goes, "Not only does your skin look good, it feels good." She goes, "Luba, it should feel like sandpaper." And then I use the product every day after radiation was like, I still use it today once a day. And I have no hyperpigmentation. I have no scars. I have no burns. I've got nothing.
That's amazing. So this is how your new products that just came out in November, is that right?
We launched in October.
October.
With
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And so they are strength and courage. So can you talk a little bit about each of those? I love the names, by the way.
Thank you. So Courage is for face. So it's a facial comfort cream. It's a little bit thicker than the body cream because I found my skin was just so dry and dehydrated and thinning. No scent to them whatsoever. And then Strength is the body cream more for radiation. They've got amazing ingredients in them like aloe, sunflower oil, oatmeal, marigold, which is a natural pain reliever, chamomile, white lily, and it soothes, protects, heals, acts as a pain reliever, and it's fragrance free.
I love that. It's just so many natural ingredients was obviously what you've been going for. And how are you getting these to market? Like, are you just targeting the cancer community for those, or really it sounds like they're, anybody can use them. Like I need to go on, and I ordered myself some new Bryght clothes, which I'm waiting for, which are the F Cancer campaign, which are amazing. But so how are you getting the word out there about these new products?
So really just kind of social media right now. We obviously have a client base that was purchasing for like skin brightening products. So they've all obviously got the new campaign and everything, which was very well received by everyone. I was a little bit worried because the campaign is very shocking and in your face. And then we start the beauty shows. So we're doing Maui this coming week. We're doing a beauty show there. We've got Vancouver, Canada at the end of February. And then we do New York in March. And then it just spirals from there. So
Maui is your first show that you get to actually go back in person, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it'll be the first Strength and Courage presentation that we do.
Nice. And you're doing, tell us about the branding that you've done with the models of this, because it's so impactful.
So anything that I do with my companies, it's always in your face. I mean, listen, when I opened up my waxing salon, we were doing anal bleaching. I had protesters in front of my business before it was open in Vegas.
I don't understand the protesting. Like, okay, it might not be for you, but don't you have something better to do than to protest a salon that makes people feel better?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other podcast.
No, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted it to be very in your face because I remember the doctors telling me that depending how things go with treatment, what my cancer looks like, the severity of it, the lymph nodes, all that, there would be a possibility of a double mastectomy or I can't remember what a single one is called.
Unilateral.
And I remember being devastated. Like, I love my boobs and it makes me feel feminine, and cancer already took my hair away, which I felt, made me feel feminine. And I was like, no, no, like this is awful. Like this, if this is how I feel, this is how other women feel. And then I would look around people in treatment, like where, you know, at the hospital, surgeries and stuff, and they were very hunched over and they were covering themselves, and there was a lot of embarrassment.
You feel like protecting, and we kind of curl up to protect that part of us that's being invaded and surgically altered and burned, and it's awful.
And I remember just thinking like, this needs to be normalized. And, you know, I went on to like stock photos, and I was looking for double mastectomies, and everyone looked really sad. Anything that I found, all the models looked very sad and helpless. And I was like, no, this is not what this is what people think cancer is about. This is what it's supposed to look like. No, that's not going to work for me. So I spoke to a good friend of mine, and I was like, listen, like, I don't know what I'm going to do about this. It's still like in a pandemic. I need to like make all this happen. And she goes, Luba, why are you using stock photos? She goes, you know that there's people out there that aren't as lucky as we are to be in Canada to have treatment paid for, that are out wages, they're out work, they're out treatment costs. She goes, why don't you hire a model that could use help instead of, you know, buying these stock photos? And I thought, oh my God, that's brilliant. She had someone in New Zealand. The model's name is Tomai, and that's who's featured on all of our images. I completely released all control, which is not like me at all, but cancer teaches you how to do that.
Yep.
So I basically did a photo shoot from my home in New Zealand with Tomai. I went on Instagram and I just did like hashtag editorial photographers New Zealand. And I swiped through a whole bunch of people, and this one person came up for me, and I messaged him and I was like, I like your work. I've got this project. I don't have a whole lot of money because it's brand new and I haven't been able to sell anything. Would you be interested? And we met on Zoom, and he said to me, the first words he said to me was, did you find me through the Breast Cancer Association in New Zealand? And I was like, no, I had no idea. Like, nothing that I saw on his page was, and he goes, because when I got your DM, that's where I was. And he goes, I've been a huge supporter of them for the longest time ever. So talking about like your world aligning completely, like this is meant to be. He drove out to her. They did the photo shoot in her home. And then I got all the raw images, and I worked with my designer to put it together.
How did you find her in New Zealand?
So it was a referral through a friend that knew her.
Okay. It's, you know, listeners, we were talking before the show, just the amazing connections that you make through the breast cancer community, because we've gone through something, and finding other people who are advocates and who get it, it really, it has just so completely opened up my world to a whole different thing that I would have not known otherwise. But talking about the normalizing what it looks like is so important. And there's a few photographers out there. I know we both your friends. We follow Jen Rosenbaum on social. There's also the Breast Cancer Portrait Project. There's Empowered Mastectomy, where they're posting real images of what it looks like to be breast cancer thrivers. And I still want to do it. I'm tattooed. I have nipples tattooed, and I have cherry blossoms on one of my breasts because I had a lot more work done on that side. And I love it. Like this is who I am now. And I've obviously incorporated the cherry blossoms into the rest of my world. Yeah. And, you know, not everyone gets to see that they're on my breasts.
Yeah.
But, no, you know, this is who we are now. And, you know, moving forward, and your marketing campaign for this and your branding previously for all of the Bryght products is awesome. You have women of every shape, size, and color on there, which not all of the world looks like us. They don't have our skin color. You know, they're women who go from size 2 to size 30. And it is important to recognize that we don't all look like the models that we see on TV or the actors or actresses. And it's just important for acceptance and for the rest of the world to say, wow, I get it. I see you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I have made a plan that every year we will feature a new model. Doesn't matter what type of cancer they had, doesn't matter if they're male or female, but we will have almost like what do you call it? Like a model search where people
Mm-hmm.
can submit people. And then we will pay that model a fee for their time. And hopefully that can
Mm-hmm.
go towards any sort of treatment. We will feature a photographer each year. And each year we will have a new campaign and allow that person to share their story.
Well, I will definitely make sure to share all of that info when it comes, because
Thank you.
definitely we want to get the word out there and find, women who really want to share and people who are in need, because cancer really can devastate you financially. And obviously, as you talked, you're in Canada, so you have a better health system than we do here in the States for sure. But like for me, I'm fortunate that I had family help when I was going through this. My first time I was diagnosed, I got my diagnosis in December. I had 8 bazillion tests, and then nothing happened surgically until January.
I know.
So I literally paid 2 $5,000 out of pockets back to back. And,
my God.
And it just money, it's, that's a whole other episode. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about in your marketing campaign with a beautiful photo of you and the new products, there's this quote. I had a choice when I was diagnosed: feel sorry for myself or make a change to seize the opportunity to help others. Feeling sorry for myself became boring within a week. It just, tell me, how did that, tell me the thought process about that.
I will tell you exactly where I was. I'll never forget that aha moment. My fiance and his 2 friends, our 2 friends, built this cancer corner for me, cancer cabana in the backyard for me, where I never ever went.
Cancer cabana. Sorry.
Right. I never went there in the 7 years that we've had the house, and we've got this beautiful space. And all of a sudden I was like, you start looking at things differently when you're diagnosed. Oh, there's hummingbirds and there's birds chirping, and I've got this beautiful back area that I've never done anything with except thrown shit back there. And I remember sitting out there, and that was where I would go and I would process and I would think, and I just it was about a week. And I remember doing the woe is me. Why me? Why did this happen to me? I didn't do anything. I'm not a smoker. I'm not a drinker. I exercise. Why? This isn't fair. And I was doing that out there. And then I just got this rage inside of me. And I just thought, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you, cancer. You're going to give this to me. I am going to kill it. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to help other people. And it came from literally just pure rage. One day out of the blue, about a week. And that's where that quote comes from. Exactly. I'm bored. This is boring. I'm bored.
That's awesome. And it reminds me of something you said to me a few months ago. I injured my back. I fractured an L2 vertebrae, and you had sent me a message, and you're like, okay, you get to feel sorry for yourself for 7 days and then get up and then get back to it. And that really meant so much to me, because it was just okay, she's got a purpose. She gets it. She understands that we do not have time to sit down and feel sorry for ourselves. So that meant a lot to me. And I love that you were able to share that. So we do need to take a quick break. So listeners, stay with us. And remember, if you or your loved ones are going through chemo and need a hat, please go to our website and search the Hat Project, and you can get a hat sent out to cover your beautiful bald head, because you can be temporarily bald but permanently beautiful. So stay with us, and we'll be back in a minute.
All right. Really weird. Zoom is, we're all clear. Zoom is freezing up on me a little bit. You're coming in loud and clear when it does, so don't worry about that. But I'm not able to send messages every now and then, just a heads up.
Okay.
No worries. It could be because I'm actually recording the Zoom. So I don't know. My husband's not on, thankfully, right now. So
it's all your fault.
It could, I'm sure it is.
No, it's not. It's actually my computer. My computer is freezing it up. And I can't click anything until it decides to stop being goofy. So
okay, I'll send an email to Ryan. Tell him you need a new computer.
I've got one at the ready. I can install it if I want. I might. We'll see how it goes the rest of the day.
Takes the time. Okay, so I will keep a better track of time.
Awesome, thank you.
What time should we be going out?
We'll be going out at 57, 58 at the very latest, because it'll get cut off after that.
Okie dokie. As I joke.
Oh, please don't do that. Make me feel guilty. 15 seconds.
Okay.
That's right. I just choked on a Cheerio over here off air. So
Okay, you should have been eating those for like a long time, so you should know how to do that now.
yeah, well, I choke on air too. So all right, here we go.
You are tuned in to Breast Friends Cancer Support Network. To reach the program today, please call us at 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email to Michelle Beck at breastfriends.org. Now, back to the show.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Michelle, and my guest is Luba Sasowski. And we've been talking about all things Bryght, the amazing products that she's created for the cancer community and others out there, products called Strength and Courage. And you can find them on brightenup.com. And she also, we're going to jump ahead real quick, has this amazing line of merch that they've just launched. And she's wearing one of their fabulous t-shirts, which says, "Save motorboating, let's find a cure," which is just, I love it. And there's also a lot of, there's some other fun stuff. So you should definitely go check it out on their Shop Bryght page. But let's talk about something fun. So we are actually Peloton Sisters, which, God, we love our Pelotons. And you also post videos of yourself working out and just really with your trainer and kicking ass, basically. And you've only been out of treatment a little bit over a year, and you're killing it.
Girl, like yesterday, it was like a wet t-shirt contest with sweat.
Oh, well, that just happens to me all the time after cancer. And that's kind of how I found you and how we connected, because I found you on Instagram, and because I just literally scour for breast cancer things. And I was seeing your videos. I was like, okay, she looks awesome. And just showing your workouts. And, back then your hair was a lot shorter, and it's, you could tell that you weren't that far out of treatment, and you were really just working it hard. And we followed each other on Peloton after we met on Instagram. And the funniest thing was, I've only taken one live Peloton class because I'm literally scared to death of that whole thing. I just do the videos and ride at my own pace. But literally, I searched the tags, and Luba was there with me. And I was like, what the hell? This is my only live class. Like, it's just another thing about how when you're in the right place and the right time and the worlds just connect. So that was super fun.
So cool.
So I know. And now we're going to be friends forever, and hopefully meet up in Vegas next year, which would be really cool.
Yes.
I don't know that I'm going to be going to Chippendales, but we'll talk about that later.
We're going to make it a mission to come to your golf tournament.
Please. Yes. July.
Yes.
I will be here. That's perfect. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to hook you up with that one.
Perfect.
But let's talk about, we'll get back to the cancer. And you say that cancer actually was a really good thing happening to you. And that's a strong statement. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I say that cancer is the best thing that's happened to me. Oh, here we go with the tears. There were a lot of changes that I should have made a long time ago. And things didn't become clear to me until I got sick. There were people that should have been removed from my table ages ago. There was changes that I should have been making in my business ages ago. There's changes that I should have been making in my relationship and made more time for it. I didn't look at any of that until I got sick, and everything just becomes so clear, so crystal clear. And since I got rid of specific people out of my life, since I made changes in my business, since I made time for my relationship, like, everything is aligning and everything seems easy. I don't want to say easy in the sense of like, oh, it just, it's easy, but I was raised by Eastern European parents, and the whole motto, everything was like, if it's not hard, then it's not worth it. You need to work for what you want. You need to work harder. Everything was such a process, and you just have to work that much harder. And if it doesn't work out for you, you just got to work harder and harder and harder until you get it. As opposed to, you learn a lot about surrendering and vulnerability with cancer that I didn't have before. I always fought so hard to get whatever I needed to happen, instead of like putting it out in the universe and accepting what the universe was going to give me, because that was the right path. So things just became so much more clear, and things just aligned. Things just happened.
Yeah. When you are faced with potential mortality and something like this, especially with your cancer that was so aggressive and literally growing like that in a week, the stars aligned for you to get home, for you to have your amazing GP, and then getting everything done so quickly to essentially save your life. There was a reason. There was a reason for that. And it literally, the universe is telling you, okay, this is time to take a step back. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be type A, rushing and going out there all the time. Yeah. You really need to, and not that your professional life or your relationships are bad, but you need to figure out the right way to have them. Mm-hmm. And, I know you've been with your fiance for a long time, but it's nice to be able to kind of step back and say, wow, let's really refocus on our relationship, because who knows how long we have. Yeah. And I want to appreciate every day. And I know for me, cancer has put me on a whole different life's journey. In my past career, I was a chief level executive assistant. I was great at my job. I made good money. And then I became a stay-at-home mom, which I would not trade for anything. But then after I was diagnosed with cancer a second time, I was like, okay, wow, I need to do something different. I'm more than a wife again. I'm more than a mother. I'm going to become a cancer advocate. And so now I found this amazing organization that I work for. And now I'm able to do this, where I get to meet people like you who are just such rock stars, who've taken something really shitty and turned it around into something so positive. So people have asked me, would you change it and not get it again? I'm like, no, 100% no. Do I love all the things that it's happened to my body? No, but I'm here, and that's what's important. I mean, my husband and I, we just recently decided, we live in Portland, Oregon, and we recently decided that we want to buy property in Montana. And in 10 years, when our son is out of school, build a house, retire there. My husband wants a giant wood shop and a firing range, and I'm going to breed dogs or who knows what. Right. But it's being able to have that clarity, like, okay, this is what's important. Yes. My work is important, but my family is important, and finding all of that balance, I think, is something that finding that is really something else that cancer does teach us, which something else for me to write about, finding the balance, because I've already written about so many things, and, the cancer takes all of your control away. But
yeah. And I think that's what needed to happen to me. Like, I think it was, a gift that was given to me to be like, oh no, I always say that, like, we sit there and we plan on what life is supposed to look like. Right? Like, oh, I'm going to do, and like, I did that my whole, like, I knew exactly where I was going to be at 21, 23, 20, like 30. I knew everything. And I had this massive plan. But what we don't know is that, like, life sits in the corner and watches us do this and laughs and is like, oh, that's cute. Okay. I've got other plans, but keep talking. This is entertaining.
100%. I love that. What are some words of wisdoms that you would tell someone who's been recently diagnosed?
God, this is hard. I get asked this often, and there's so much to say. One, I would say, take a deep breath. It's a long road. Find your person. And if you don't have that person, bring a recording device to all of your appointments, because what you usually hear is not really what they're saying. You usually take a lot of the negative things and only hear that.
Or even it's like Charlie Brown speak, like they're talking and you're like, it's like, wah, wah, wah. And literally, I remember sitting in the office with tears streaming down my face. Oh, yeah. And thankfully, my husband is sitting there next to me taking notes, and because I can't process anything. So sorry, keep going. I know you have other good stuff in there.
So find your person, or if you don't have a person, bring a recording device and stay off the internet.
Yes, 100%, because you don't want to know these things. Like, you listen to your oncology team and your practitioners and people who've been there. And definitely some words of wisdom that I have learned is to just remind people out there that you are not alone. You are not alone in going through this. There are many women and men who've gone along this path and make it through on the other side. And it does get better. I was recently responding to someone in one of our groups, and she's like, I'm a year out, and I'm so sad, and it's so hard. And, does it get better? And I'm like, it does get better. Yeah. It does. And, the old adage that time heals, it really does. it heals your body, it heals your mind, but finding that support that you need, whether it's your person or a support group in person or online, or, even social media, following different people who
Absolutely.
have amazing words of wisdom. And, you can go out today, listeners, and put in hashtag feel them on the first, or feel it on the first, and you will find an amazing community of people out there who are there to support you. So it's definitely something that's so important. What is the one thing pre-cancer that you miss the most?
The feeling in my fingertips.
Really? Is that, so is that from neuropathy from your chemo?
Yeah.
Oh, motherfucker.
And it's like, it's just like one of those like small things that you take for granted, right? Like, whatever it is, like I'm not able to kind of open up a bottle top the same. I can't squeeze a pimple the same. Like I've got no feeling to do any of that stuff anymore. That like, I really, really, I miss that. And I think about often, like as my hands were crippling, like what was the last moment that I was really truly able to touch and feel something?
I get that. For me, there's definitely a list of things, but I've had a bilateral mastectomy, so I don't have the sensation in my reconstructed breasts. And that's kind of hard. It affects your body image because you can't feel different things. And it also affects your intimacy with your partner. So you have to really learn other ways to deal with that. And my thing is I do have, health issues and joint issues, but I'm here. And that's always what I say. I'm here to not have those, not have that sensation, but 100%, that's the most important thing, that we're here.
And one of the craziest things that I miss, and it's all that same shit that we like complain about as women our whole lives, is I miss my period. I do.
Oh, I don't miss that at all.
I've got chemopause, right? So I induced through chemotherapy, but it's something that I hated my whole life and struggled with, and the cramps and everything. But now, like, I just feel like my body has aged so much. Like I'm 41. I shouldn't be in menopause.
Yeah. And do you have all the rest of the menopause symptoms?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. It's so fun. Good times.
Yeah.
Good times. There's other shows on that out there too.
Yeah.
So what are your hopes? We have a couple more minutes. What are your hopes for Bryght going forward?
So I don't have hope. I just know that it's going to be an international recognized brand. We are already on our way. We have distributors in South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, US, and we're starting to get orders from Dubai, Mexico, and the UK. And I just want it to help people and empower people feel better about themselves and just make their cancer journey just a little bit better, a little bit easier. And of course, we still want to bleach all the assholes.
Here, there are people in your salons that wear the t-shirts. What is it? I don't work for assholes, I bleach them.
So that was what it is. That was my very first uniform that I created when I left corporate. And it said, I used to work for assholes, now I just bleach them. And I sent that to my boss with a card that said, how is this for staying inside the box?
Yeah, that is, I should have titled this show like staying outside of the box, because that is 100% where you live, but it's where you're comfortable. And but you're making changes and you're making a difference for so many people. And that is so important. So gosh, Luba, tell us how listeners can find you on social and on the web.
So you can find me at Luba Sasowski, LubaSasowski. That's also my Peloton name. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find the brand at Brighten Up, BRYGHTENUP. That's with Bryght with a Y, and that is on all platforms. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, follow her and Bryght. You will not regret it. So Luba, thank you again so much for being here today. You have highlighted the start to a wonderful day for me. And I love you so much. So listeners, make sure you go follow her and the company. If you or a loved one out there need our services, please visit breastfriends.org. You can make a donation on our website or by texting BF Radio to 41444 to ensure that women do not go through cancer alone. If you would like to be a guest on the show or send me your warrior story, please email me at michellebeck@breastfriends.org. I would love to hear from you. And you can find the show on Voice America Health and Wellness channel, along with all of our past episodes or wherever you find your podcasts. So we'll be back next week. And until then, remember, we rise by lifting each other.